Hey everybody, how you doing today?
Fine.
Hey, everyone.
Howdy. Doing great.
All right. Oh, Tom, you got the nice military cut there going, huh?
Nothing wrong with that.
But no, for you guys to know, Tom and I have been known each other forever, and he's only had pretty long hair. And,
Only in the last 2 years.
So, but I guess I've thinned out a little bit too. Oh, we lost Devin? Okay, I guess they're going to be back in a second. All right. I'm gonna address a few things really quick, guys, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Get that. There we go. All right. For those who don't know, I'm going to put the link on right there. We released today Sky Soldiers, the World War 85 free scenario. We have another one coming. There's a link for it on the bottom of your screen in case you want to download it to try it out. Okay. We also have another one coming as soon as I get a second to put it up there. And for those who've been waiting for a wing in the prayer, I believe it is 3.0 update. That should be released sometime between today and over the weekend. Okay, and this has great work by a gentleman named Jan. He did a lot of work on this, guys. Added things, took some people's comments, and he really needs a big round of applause. I'm not saying we're going to reprint it or not yet. There's a good chance we might, but as of right now, it's not yet 100% set up for that. Hey, Dev, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How's everybody doing out there this fine, wet, miserable winter day?
Happy your cardboard box is not a cardboard box, buddy. All right, we had another guest going to be online today, but he's got COVID. His name is Scott Anderson. For those who are not familiar with him, he's been making tons of scenarios on the Locking the Tactical digital side, as well as making some module kits that we were going to be releasing. But he got COVID-19, and we just want to send out a prayer to him and his family. I guess it's been a few months now. He had a brand new baby girl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, brand new baby girl.
And so, Scott, if you're listening, if you can see us in the haze, we just hope you're feeling better. And again, want to thank you for all your efforts there. So I'm looking at people's comments. Hello, everybody. I'm not going to name you all. I know I've been reading around some of the things that, hey, why do we put our ugly mugs up here? Why don't we have a TV studio and, play out some of the more of all of us behind the same room? Because first of all, we're all across the country, in some cases the world. NBC, believe it or not, canceled we did not renew our contract for our reality TV show. So this is the best way we can do it. We don't do this weekly like some other companies. Every week we come on and do this. We only come on when we spend some amount of time. We actually have something to say. And it really is more to be a large group chat. So people can ask us questions. We can give you incorrect answers, and move along. Okay. So I guess we'll start with Uwe. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, for those who don't know Uwe, he is the genius behind our tabletop simulator modules. Okay, so he's been putting all of our games on Tabletop Simulator. He's done an excellent job, and let's see what you have to say about it.
Well, the only reason I can do an excellent job is because you guys keep sending me these excellent resources. One of the tricks in tabletop making mods is getting good quality graphics that you can make the counters and the maps out of, and yours are just top notch. So it's easy to make put a good game up there if you've got the good resources to do it. And you guys are fast, and the graphics are great. So I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and send me more. I'm ready to go, primed.
So sending you more will not be the problem, I think. All right. Mike's in charge of all of our Vassal modules. I don't know if he's done any yet for Locking the Tactical, but I think you're working on some, right?
Yeah, so getting ready to started some framework for next one coming up, but been making some edits to add into the World at War side of things as well.
Well, I will say this, not have talking to either Uwe or Mike. But if you guys got some particular features or something that you've seen in another module, I'm not saying we can do it. I'm not saying we're going to do it. I'm not even saying we're going to want to do it. But in order to turn you down officially, we have to get some of the suggestions in. So if you guys have any ideas what you like to see, or if there's something from a different module that you thought might be helpful in any of our games, let us know. I mean, these are the two experts right here, and we just want to, give you an opportunity to let us know what you may like. We want to make this playable. The object of lock and load. Many people think, we're trying to look like WizKids or Hasbro or whoever you want to pick on. We just want you to play the games. If you're playing the games, and honestly, we're doing a better job than that's what we're shooting for. So that's what we're doing there.
Yeah,
How you doing? Oh, sorry, Stefan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine.
All right, Stefan is one of our rule gurus. Okay, so basically, it comes down to if you don't like something, it's either between Devin and Stefan.
And usually Stefan will win.
Yeah,
I've never seen Stefan's face before. I've asked him 300 questions and I've never seen him.
I think it's on a counter somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Oh, funny you should say that. I don't have everybody's, but I think I have the majority of these. Yeah. Okay. There's
Wow.
Devin on the top right. And this is there's Maurice Fitzgerald as a Marine. Jeff Schulte, I think he's an East German.
East German armor, yeah.
There's
Keith.
Jackson as U.S. military. Kevin Sharp. Nate Rogers. We actually have a picture of Nate, and when you look at the sunglasses, you can see the oil fields burning in the background.
I like the cigarette there. That's appropriate.
Yeah, it was not. Was it FDA approval now? That's
We couldn't fit a can of Rip It in there, so.
How true.
Maybe it's just a peppermint stick.
I think I have one for Tom too. I didn't show that one. Where is that?
Yeah, I'm not wearing glasses for some reason. I don't know why the dude removed my glasses.
I think
it was because modern glasses on a historical. The individual who's doing most of these portraits, Ivan, did a wonderful job with it. Very, very attentive to detail and very, very like, all right, they can't have glasses because we can't have modern day glasses on a World War II, portrait or something like that. So.
Oh, I guess that is what is his name now? Come on,
Ron.
Just pick it on you, Ron. How you doing, buddy? All right. Okay, so I guess we'll start off roughly with everybody. For those who don't know Tom is the genius behind the programming of Tactical Digital.
Genius.
Yeah, if it builds you up and you fail, it doesn't look as bad then, see? Okay, and if you've all been following Lock and Load Tactical Digital on the computer, really, Tom and I have done things from Steel Panthers all the way up till now together.
I'm the one to blame, I guess.
Hey, you did it, not me, buddy. All right, so what I'm going to tell you is we're going to kind of go into this. I'm going to start off with the most. Hold on a second. All right, so if anyone has any rule questions, I guess that's the real big thing, or idea of what we're going to do. Here's a good comment. What else was there? I guess, Devin, this one's going to be for you, buddy.
My magnum opus, Stalingrad, or my Icarus, one of the two. Yes, there is the plans eventually for having a massive Stalingrad box set, and the plan is to have historical style maps with the campaign system. I'd like to do Mommy of Kurgan. I'd like to do the Red Barricade Tractor Works. I'd like to do the Red Factory Tractor, or the Red Factory. Or was it the Red October? There's a bunch of factories in Stalingrad. The fight for the ferry landings. There's a lot of stuff in Stalingrad that we would love to do historical maps for and campaigns for. I don't think it's going to be quite as big as the ASO Red Barricades, because naturally well, not naturally, but our hexes are just bigger. So for us to do a large historical map like that, the maps tend to get really big. Anybody who notices the Saalfeld map from Red Barricades, or the Dark July, or Noville, the historical maps can get kind of big. But
So you're saying there's a chance?
Oh yeah, no, totally. There's a chance. Completely, totally. There's a chance. I don't think we're going to see a Red Barricades map on the scale of area like Red Barricades. It may be sections of the Red Barricades factory. I don't think we're going to be able to get all that territory on a map that is going to be able to fit on people's tables. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of looking at it. If we wanted to do Red Barricades in our hex size, it would be larger than the Frankfurt map that we put out for World of War 85. And as most people know, that takes kind of like a pool table to play on to begin with.
Even in tabletop.
Even in tabletop, Uwe had a hell of a time reworking the table and shrinking the maps to get that to work in TTS. So there will be a lot of historical maps, and they will be focusing on probably where sections of the fighting were heaviest and easiest for me to make scenarios. But for the Red Barricades and the bigger factories, we're probably not going to see the entire factory. But this is still at least a couple years out before we start working on this. The next project that we're looking at after Bitter Harvest, for me personally, we have several projects working on, of course. Some are secret, some are not secret. Is Pegasus Bridge. And that map, I had to shrink that down a lot. It's 22 by 32, I think, is the hex size I've got with it, which is the size of like Dark July and Noville and Frozen Hell, all the other historical maps we've done. And even then, I'm finding myself very constrained with such a small territory. And of course, Red Barricades was much bigger than the area that was fought over for Pegasus Bridge. So yes, we are looking at doing larger historical map type stuff with actual campaigns. Maybe not as complex as we saw in ASL because, well, we're not ASL, and I don't want to try to recreate the ASL style campaign in Lock and Load Tactical. I'm lazy, I'll admit it. But we are, yes, it's coming. Long story short, that was the long answer. Short answer, yes, it's coming.
All right, here's a quick update on where we stand on this. We have the last game we released was it Valor the 13th, guys?
No, it was Battle Pack 2 for Vietnam.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, so there's a new Battle Pack 2 for Vietnam. Dad, does that have new maps in it? Or have any new map variations?
It has one map 1A.
Okay, so once that's approved by Stefan and Devin and Blackwell, it'll go onto our store, and you can buy the module rules and scenarios and the map. Okay.
I mean, that's stuff out of the original Heroes of the Nam.
Oh, it's part of the. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It does.
It's not Pledge of Honor. It's not Pledge of Honor. It's the Battle Pack. Battle Pack.
Yeah.
But
there was one scenario in there that came from the compendium, and that scenario has two maps, 1A and 4A, I think.
Okay, so that is available. If you already own Heroes of the Nam, you've already and the compendium book for that, you already have those scenarios.
Yeah.
And now on digital, so if you want to grab that, you can. After that. Before that was what? Was
Valor the 13th.
Valor the 13th, which was new and designed by Scenario Genius, Devin.
Okay. Genius is a strong word.
You're really diluting that word right off the bat.
Yeah.
What's that old saying from the word? I really don't think that word. You think it does? But Valor the 13th. Now I do have. And let me see. I believe one of the nice things about that, and Deb, you're going to guide me here, is this is the map for it, right?
Yep, that is the actual, there are two maps that came with Valor the 13th. This is an absolutely brand new map that we have that, and if you were to rotate it 90 degrees, is actually how the map actually lays out on the table, with basically the right-hand side of the map is the north map edge. Valor the 13th takes place near the Ponyari rail yards, which was on the northern flank of the Cursed Salant. And anybody who knows Ponyari knows that Ponyari sat right next to a hill 253.7 or something silly like that. Basically, as the map is sitting right now, if you go about 5 or 10 hexes to the north, is going to be where the starting of the Ponyari rail yard on the hill was. So since we had this map and we wanted to do this map, I figured, all right, well, we're just going to go ahead and stick this right next to Ponyari. And most of the scenarios take place on this. The other half of the scenarios for Valor the 13th, we took the Dark July map and really changed it out. We took all the wheat fields off of it, put a bunch of other stuff on there, and it's really good tank country. I mean, really good tank country. We're seeing tank ranges that we haven't seen before. We got a couple scenarios in there that you can't play via tabletop right now because there aren't enough tank counters in Heroes of the Motherland. However, when the Valor the 13th module does drop in physical print, it will have the counters to cover all those extra armor vehicles. So you're gonna end up with like 13 Tigers and like 30 T-34s. I mean, we're talking huge scenarios here.
All right. Now, I also have this map. Where does this one in there?
Yeah, that's the other one.
Yep, that's the other map. Again, rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise, and that's basically the right side of the map is north. Half the scenarios take place on this, and you will notice this is the Dark July map, but we took all the wheat fields off of it. We took the massive trench line out of it. We put some more buildings in to fill out the village a little bit more. But yeah, as you can see, wide open, occasional brush there, but who cares about that? It's still good wide open. You're getting to the point now with this map where you're at the maximum range for your tanks. You're even beyond range with the tanks in some of the scenarios when you start off with. So again, if you like armor battles, I mean this is good Panzer country right here.
All right. I guess I'm going to kind of call on Stefan and Devin. Because I'll just get rid of this picture for a second. Can you give us what some of the armor changes? I know we've been going back and forth with some of the armor changes, and Stefan, I know we made some changes recently, and you're going to find what we're doing, guys. We got the core rules. They are not being updated to 5.2 or 6.0, but we will update, spelling mistakes, or if we said it's supposed to be a +3, we'll change that. I think we did make some changes where we said the 5 rules, we put the word optional at the end of the rules. We realize it's optional. These are not hardcore changes or anything like that. It's just things as we keep going while we're finding them and while we're doing them. The module rules, just for those who aren't clear, the module rules are just that. They're module rules and scenarios. Those usually come in the games. And then there's companion books, and I said this last week, but I'll say it again for the World at War, Lacking Tactical guys. The companion books are for those who either want a spiral-bound book that falls flat on your table, makes it easier for you to, read it, or do not want to buy the board games. And you say, what? If you're playing one of Mike Seeley's Vassal modules or one of Uwe's Tabletop Sim modules, we made these companion books because it has all the module rules, all the scenarios are in this book, plus all the needed charts and tables. So you don't need the board game. You can play online and play this way and only have to use the book. And it actually says in the book, it gives you a digital license for those who, are worried about whatever, the black copters coming down and grabbing you in the night. But that's the purpose of why we break the books out. And the core rules, there's 2 versions of them. There's the core rules, which has everything in them, which means it's got the narratives, it's got the starter kit, it's got the combat tables for core rules. And then there's the handbook for the core rule, for the main rules. And the handbook is basically the same thing, except that I think, did we make the type smaller for that, guy?
No, we didn't make the type smaller, but we took the narrative out.
We took the narrative out. We took the starter kit out. We took anything but that's purely not rules. So this way, if you want that, you got just the rules. And when I'm at this, let me just see if I have a picture for this gentleman. Hold on.
You still get all the example of play, though.
Yes, you get all the examples.
Yeah, so it's still a hefty book.
Okay, on the bottom of the screen right now, you'll see our online library. And I'm going to, open up a tab. All of our books are well, not all of them. Most of them are online right now. And it allows you to download the book, watch the boot camp training videos, read them, search for the books online. You can download, you can even print from online. And I'm going to share a screen real quick just to show you guys what it is again. Hold on.
And at some point, you're going to have to answer a question from Bill because he's lining them up. It's crazy. I mean, like got half a dozen of them.
Yeah, and thanks for the kudos, Bill. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm getting a new error from stupid Google Chrome now, so I'm not seeing that I can do this. So let me just see if I have an image of this here, guys. Hold on. Okay, guys, if you guys want to talk about any of these other rules while I look for this, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, so we were leaving off with Stefan was going to touch bases on the new armor rules that David and I bumbled our way through, and Stefan made sure that they actually work within the confines of the game system. He's good at doing that.
Well, the digital help us a lot because you can play a lot of game and there's all kind of different results happening, and you don't Tom put in there the rules so they play how they're supposed to play. You don't interpret that, and then you can see if there's any flaws or something like that. So, for example, in the first version of the rule, we had you could have let's say a mobility destroy, so your tank could not move anymore, and then you could get a mobility damage, which prevents your tank from rotating, I think, or something like that, moving half speed, which doesn't make sense to have mobility damage after your mobility has been destroyed. But this, didn't came up to us when you write down the rule because we didn't actually play a lot of it. And then with the digital, you get all these kinds of word result, and then you say, oh, this is not working well. So it's kind of neat to have that Tom being able to put all the rules as they are written in the Lock and Roll Digital, and then we can play a few games and see if there's something that's not working.
I can tell when you're playing the game too because I get 21 bug reports.
Yeah. Well, there's still thing that needs to be sorted out, but most people beside me won't probably notice them, so there's no big deal because you don't receive that much bug result. It's funny because I just before we came online, I was playing a game of Red Gauntlet, and I got an M1 Abrams N1 that got a guns barrel destroyed, turret damage, mobility damage, and it was still working. I mean, it was still going on until I managed to hit him for a fourth time. So yeah, the new rules they give you a bit more variety if you want to play with them because they're optional. If you manage a penetrating it on any vehicle, then you go on a special table and gives you all kinds of different results like barrel destroy, mobility destroyed or damaged, turret destroy or damage, and then the usual destruction or catastrophic hit even that round. So it brings a little bit more diversity to it. It's a little bit less lethal because, of course, in the range of 2 to 12 on 2d6, you have to introduce those result that won't destroy the tank right away, but it's kind of neat. And I just got an achievement in Lock and Roll Digital destroying another tank while I had my own mobility destroyed. So my tank was basically not being able to move anymore, but was still able to shoot, and I got to destroy another tank. So that's nice. That's nice. Oh, there's also a cruise stun result there. So we're still playing with them, still toying with them. We're going to see if they're working, and again, they're optional. So if you don't find them, to be aggressive enough, or if you find them annoying, and then just don't play with them. Same thing in the digital. It's a clickable box. You can check the box if you want them or if you don't want to play with them. Am I right, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We also updated the fire rules. There was actual bug, just so people know, there was an actual bug that Tom fixed a couple of, I guess, months back now, at least.
Yeah, it's been through so many steps. Somewhere between like version 2 and version 3, it was when it was changed from 1 die to 2 die. accidentally left in a test for that thing, so it was always firing off. So when Devin was trying to make it happen less often, I made it happen all the time. So that lasted like I think about 2 or 3 weeks like that, and like nobody noticed that it was always rolling the same number. I think.
Well, people were noticing that they were getting a lot of fires, and I'm looking at this as I'm play testing this stuff at my desk, and I'm trying to figure out. These people are saying, "Oh, I just played Aachen, Bloody Aachen, and 30 hexes were on fire," and I'm going, "How is that even physically possible?" Because I'm lucky if I get 2 or 3 fires in a game.
It's kind of a mess because it's split up between you can set fires from the ordnance, or you can set fires from direct fire, or you can set fires from the phosphorus, and they're all in different places. And I just screwed up, really. I mean, it happens. I think they're right now. I'm like 85% sure they're right.
Well, I haven't heard any complaints since we said, "Yeah, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Let's try it now."
Yeah, and we changed also the things where you were obligated to do something to get out of the fire. We changed the rule a little bit because people were getting a lot of trouble applying that rule in Lock-and-Load Digital. They could not figure out that they had to do something so we changed the rule so you don't have to do something to get out of the fire. But if you are still in the fire by the admin phase, then you might suffer something.
Yeah, all those obligated, those forced movement things are always an issue in the digital because it's difficult to program, first of all, so it's likely to have a bug, and second of all, communicating to the people that they have to do this. And so every time like Devin now comes up with a rule that involves that, I figure out a way around it. Like we changed the incompetent leader thing to be sort of automatic for bitter harvest.
Yeah, and I've
not have that problem.
I've been getting better at not presenting those type of rule situations in the scenario, so Tom doesn't have to worry about program. I mean, I know I still give him gray hairs on quite a regular basis, but I think I'm getting better at preventing some of those slipping through to it.
Yeah, hopefully.
We give the rules to Tom now to tell us what the hell is wrong with you people.
Yeah, well, now that we're doing things more simultaneously, it's easier than going back to something that was written in 2015 and they weren't even thinking about being a computer game, So.
Yeah, it's really nice to have the digital because you apply the rule as written while we write the rule and we play them with a certain idea in our mind that how they should be done, and sometimes that prevents us from seeing any flaw in the rule. And then you get a newbie or someone that is completely outside from lock and load, and they apply the rule as written, and it doesn't work. And that the digital can show us because you are really, I don't want to say brainless, but the computer doesn't try to interpret the rule; it plays the rules as written.
Yeah, and there's sometimes when we're writing the rules or I'm writing the scenario that I can't see the rules trees for all the rules forest. So,
yeah, that's a nice comment. I have to keep.
Well, yeah, no, I mean just the number of questions I send back, like what happens if this leader does this, and I send you very weird situations because they come up. If you were sitting with a person, you just say like, "Oh, just work it out." But we need to know the actual answer for the computer. So.
And the funny thing is, when Tom sends me these questions, it's like this light bulb goes on. Maybe it's not a very bright light bulb, but it's a light bulb regardless. And it's like, yeah, I should have thought of that when I was writing this. I'm sorry, Tom. And write it back. The way it's supposed to work is.
Yeah, it's for example. And also, we have our ideas in our mind when we write down those rules. Like, for example, in the overrun, I said, I don't think we should allow overrun into roads that are aligned with trees because basically the infantry will simply hide in the ditch, on the side, and behind the trees. And then, the overrun won't be as effective as it would be in an open X. But because in lock and load, if you cannot overrun, you cannot actually enter with a vehicle, that means that a single leader or single hero can actually block a road because those tanks won't be able to come barrel down the road and overrun that guy just because we said that hex cannot be overrun. So my mind behind it was saying, well, you cannot overrun because it won't be effective. The guys will scatter around. But the problem is that in the game, not being able to overrun means you cannot enter the X, actually. And I didn't want to go into something like, you can enter X with the vehicle, but you can stop there. And I'm pretty sure Tom appreciate that, because imagine if a vehicle would stop in a hex where it's not supposed to be, I guess it would be something problematic. So I'm leaning to allow the overrun eventually. And this is an example of what I was saying. I mean, you have something in your mind, you picture something, you try to write it down in the rule, and then because of lacking of the tactical digital, I saw some scenario where actually I could not even enter a town with my tanks because there was one man standing in a road with trees on both sides, and that was the only exit road. So that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
There was many years ago, and some of the older Grognogs will probably remember this. The game Panzer Blitz. It was called the Panzer Bush syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't do that in Panzer Blitz. You couldn't take armor and attack into a forest or a forested road. So you just put a truck out there, and that would stop like Tiger tanks from continuing the advance on. So yeah, it's not something that we've just run into. It's something that's happened in the past, people.
All right, I got some more for you. Here's from Chris. I got quite a few questions here. Deb and I were talking about that, about making another locking with tactical module in the spirit of Heroes Against the Red Star. That is a little bit more towards the World at War 85, but it's been nothing but talk because we really just have our plates full now. But I'm sure you're going to see something, Chris. I just don't know if it'd be maybe Scott. We were going to talk to Scott, but like I said, he's got COVID. About doing that as well, but it's something is brewing and just not well formed yet. Okay, what else we have here? Got quite a few questions. Oh yes, here we go. All right, I'm going to answer another question that's on here too because there's quite a few questions. We've been asked why are we releasing digital and not releasing the board games. And let me just say this: the problem is the printed. Okay, guys. Tom can hit that button with me a hell of a lot faster and I can print counters up. Okay. And the problem is now is overseas. We're having a hard time getting even dates when they're going to start, not ship, start. And then, of course, there's all these other delays with the cargo containers. We're looking for people in the States, maybe they'll raise the cost quite a bit. So any game that requires counters at the very least or a large map has to wait until we get the counters in to make it available on the tabletop side. So we're not abusing you guys. We're not ignoring you guys. We're not, moving all over to digital. It's just a matter of supply lines, really, Pretend we're in Leningrad and we're not even getting our sawdust. Okay. So that is the real reason. So now to answer the question on the zombie thing, I believe the zombie thing falls on me, Devin, right? I haven't finished the rules for that one.
No, the rules are pretty much all completely written. I think what we're waiting on is the maps, the LOS masks from the maps themselves.
Yes. We got to get Tom and Blackwood together because the map sizes are not the same. And this, guys, the idea of the zombie system is we're going to have, I don't know what color they're going to be yet, but they're going to be some symbols that can be turned on and off on the computer game, which will be on the board game. Okay, but it'll tell you the type of building it is. So give me an example. If you're running through a town, we'll just say North America right now, okay, and the building might be a 4-hex building for argument's sake. When you click on it, it might be a bank, it might be a deli, and it will change how you can get into the building, the ease of getting into the building. So if you have a horde of zombies and there's different types of zombies chasing you, you getting into a bank to hide will be a lot more difficult. But in the bank, you might be a lot safer, depending upon how many zombies are in that building. So it's a little bit more story-driven, I guess you guys can agree with me there? Okay. So it'll have the same zombie rule, a combat system. It's not going to change anything drastically. It's just, and people say, oh, why are you doing that and not finishing whatever you think I should be finishing, guys? It's a lot of this stuff is because we're trying to get this stuff designed in a way to give it to Tom, because all this stuff has to be programmed. And that's the other complaint. I got a very interesting, obnoxious letter from one of our wonderful fans that why is this 2 years in early access? We don't know what we're doing. Tom, by the way, you suck. Okay, because it's 2 years, and I'm trying to explain to you that we keep releasing battle packs because the scenarios have these special rules and scripts that Tom is coding like a genius, use that word again, okay, into it. So it's also in the battle editor. You agree with that, Tom? And I'm saying that
yeah,
right?
what I've been doing since I don't even remember when the last 2 years has been kind of a blur, but whenever the scenario editor came out, at that point, almost all the scenarios have been done with the editor, Devin's in particular. On the Vietnam Pack #2, I had to do some special hard coding stuff because some of those had some weird things. But as a general rule, everything that Devin has done in the editor, he sends me these scenarios on paper that look like this, and then I do it in the edit. Well, actually, for Bitter Harvest, he did it in the editor, but then he gave up after that. And then I go through and put in the special rules in the game, and when I'm doing that, I put it in the editor. So that's how the editor has been growing ever since that started, and why a lot of the patch notes recently will have like 3 things that happen in the scenario editor because it's stuff I added in order to deal with an upcoming Devin scenario. So I mean, it kind of is sort of all happening at once on a lot of those things. And I mean, there's different bottlenecks in different parts, right? There's the art as a bottleneck. We have to have the art. You can't have anything without the art. And at the end is me. I have to program the stupid thing. So, different modules and packs or whatever have, get held up at different places.
All right, well, here's the cover to what will be the zombie game. Oop, have to take that comment away. Sorry, guys.
I mean, we were actually with the first thing with this is we were trying to get it out by Halloween, right? And so we didn't.
Yeah, Halloween of last year.
No, we didn't say what year.
Yeah, we didn't say what year, but the original.
Yeah, but when you didn't, well, I said I need the rules by I think it was like September or something, right? And then we're like, oh, okay, he's not gonna get that to me on time. I'm gonna move on to Valor the 13th. So I'm always doing something. It's just a question of what order it's in.
That is true. So this is the cover for you, and we have these are not. We have counters then because you can see the counters on the cover here. Okay, these are just some, and Ivan did these graphics here.
Now, what the plan is we are also going to include a set of rules that you can incorporate the zombies into any lock and load tactical scenario there is. For the most part, the zombies are going to run by an AI, and I'm sure what we're doing is going to make Tom's life a living hell because what we think of AI and what is actual computer programmed AI, I'm sure, are 2 different things. So what you're going to be seeing, for the most part, the expansion itself is going to be modern day civilians and some military versus zombies, but we're also going to be including the ability for these zombies to show up in any scenario at all running by this AI, which is why you're going to see we've got such a variety of modern and World War II version of zombies, both military and civilian, US and German forces. So we're trying to make the zombies as inclusive as possible because zombies don't care who they eat. They'll eat anybody. So we're trying to get it to as wide of an audience as possible. And why are we doing this? We like zombies.
Yeah, well, part of the reason was when we were discussing this, we wanted to have for some more modern type of scenarios. We won't say what because everyone asked me 10,000 questions. We needed some more, we'll call them mob antics. And zombies are the perfect mob antics if you want to think about it. And we wanted to also add some storytelling to the system where you're kind of not just trying to kill each other, which is most combat situations, right? If this is you're hunting for something, you're looking for something, you're trying to find someone, it's a little bit more story-based, and that's what we were shooting for. So,
and for those of you that are familiar with the previous our previous zombie game, Zombies Reloaded, and the multitude of expansions that came out for that, a lot of the influence for the final battle is coming from that because it's already a system that we know that works, and it's something we're familiar with, and why rebuild Rome in a day when we don't have to. So you're going to see a lot of similarities, like David was saying earlier about the buildings, the different types of buildings and how you can enter them, how easy or harder it's going to be to enter them. There's also going to be searching that you can do. You can find melee weapons, you can find ranged weapons, you can find medical packs. A lot of that is pulling from Zombies Reloaded. So it like David was saying, it's going to be a more narrative experience. We're hoping that's what we're shooting for anyways.
you promised nothing though.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Okay. Devin and I were making the Stalingrad, which we'll get into in a minute, sewer rules. We wrote them all down. We're so happy. And then 30 seconds into one of the playtests, it just destroyed itself, and we had to rewrite it from scratch. So Here's some more, I guess, modern zombies.
Yep, those are more modern zombies. Yep.
Okay. And Ivan just did a great job on these.
Yeah, Ivan knocked it out of the park with these.
Is a leader.
That's one of your kids, man.
Yeah, that's my oldest son.
Shh, don't want to tell anybody that.
I really think he could have played on an episode of
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, one of the gang leaders. Yeah.
Some more modern day zombies.
And I think that's all of them we have. So, so that's where we are with the zombie stuff, guys. It's not, we're not going to be doing vampires and werewolves that I can foresee in the future. It was just this one particular thing. So I hope that answers that. I will guarantee you we will not, we don't even know if we're going to release a board game version of this. We do have an idea of it. It really depends on the demand on the computer. A lot of it is because we're trying to get time to code certain stuff that we can implement and then see how we can use it. Okay. What about the space infantry? I think Blackwell's making the maps and the rules are done, correct?
Yeah, the rules are I would say 95% set. There's still one or two things I need to put in for the flesh eaters on that one. But yeah, for the most part, the rules have been done for a while. We have 3 of the sets of counter sheets in. There's a 4th counter sheet we realized we needed to make because the flesh eaters needed a few more units, and we decided we needed some more human forces, and that also gave me a chance to put some more vehicles and heavy weapons equipment in there. Blackwell is, I'd probably say, 70 to 75% done with the map. Again, this is going to come out on digital long before we get it to the print tabletop copies. Again, just because of how long out. I mean, honestly, if we were to put in the counter sheets today, it would probably still be 6-8 months before we'd get the counters back from China. That is how, if we're lucky, that is how bad the backlog from China. And we just can't find here in the States that will do it for a reasonable price. I mean, sure, there's plenty places here we could do in the States, but we'd probably have to increase the price of the final product 3 or 4 times. We don't think our customers are really going to go for that. We might sell a few, but we're doing everything we can to keep prices down. That means China, but right now with the current logistics and supply chains, it's everybody's feeling the pinch. I know Academy Games is feeling the pinch with this because they print in China. It's just a worldwide thing that we're going through right now.
All right. Someone's asking about Space Above and Beyond. I'm looking at the graphics we have for that. So hold on. I think we showed some of this before. These are I believe this is the computer stuff. No, this is the board game stuff. That's right. Blackwell and I were testing this. All right. So I'm going to throw some of this up here. And let Dev talk a little bit about this, and this is a little bit more in his wheelhouse than mine.
Yep, this is some of the graphics from Space Above and Beyond, or the Lock and Load Infantry, Space Infantry, Tactical Digital, whatever you want to call it. This looks like some of the newer graphics with some of the newer bad guys on it. We've got, as you can see, the black clad counters are the flesh eaters. For those of you who are familiar with Space Infantry, we've got at least a dozen different races. So we decided to go with the flesh eaters as the first bad guys for this first outing into it. There's going to be some civilian counters that you're going to you need to keep alive from the flesh. They basically think of the flesh eaters as either the Zerg or Xenomorphs from popular sci-fi media. We've got some space infantry suits in there, the 364 guys right in the middle. We've got armored vehicle, or no, that's a heavy weapons, the UA-251C. We've got a hero. You will notice that the buildings sort of somewhat look similar to
this is the Falklands, isn't it?
Falklands, yeah.
Falkland,
Yeah, we're Blackwell and I have been talking. We're thinking that the building should probably look more industrial, because we're figuring that these far out colonies are using some form of advanced 3D concrete printing. So he's working on updating the graphics a little bit more. But yeah, you kind of got a little landing pad right there with the yellow and black stripes. Anyway, we have some more equipment. We've got Sergeant Hawk, he's a hero. Lieutenant Koenig, we've got a medic. We've got some the purple unit in the middle is our bounty. I think Blackwell and I named them bounty hunters, and they're kind of independent hunters that kind of come around and will attack anything on the battlefield. And we got the P500 exoskeletons, which are space infantry, advanced heavy combat armor suits, which are kind of work like vehicles. As you notice, they kind of got the stats on there like a vehicle. They've got armor for it too, and then you've got the armored vehicle that's under the move counter right there. That's one of the tracked vehicles. We've got a hover vehicle that's in there. Yeah, I think we've got a nice, good collection of futuristic
I like the
equipment.
crash counter.
Yep, we got a couple crash counters because there's going to be rescue pods and stuff like that are going to get wiped out. And the plan is 4 maps, I believe, and 8 to 10 to 12 scenarios, depending on what Blackwell and I can come up with.
Okay, and here's one more picture for you.
Yeah, and we're also going to have human-on-human combat. So one of the reasons we needed the 4th counter sheet was because we wanted to put in a second human faction. So basically, you've got the regular space infantry forces, you've got civilian forces, but then you've also got the planetary defense forces. And well, when your entire planet is falling to a Zerg-like invader, sometimes the human factions are going to fight against each other as well. So yeah, we needed that 3rd human faction in there to make a couple of the scenarios to give more of a storyline feeling to it. There's a hover assault vehicle down there at the bottom. But yeah, that's kind of what we got. That's kind of what we're looking at.
Okay.
Oh, you probably also notice is kind of this dark blue contact counter in the upper right. Now, the flesh eaters, since they don't use any mechanical and they're very rapid and very fast and kind of move with the terrain, you can't really see them real well because they're kind of sneaking up on you. But you have the motion detectors. Anybody remembers the motion detectors from Aliens? The human forces have got these motion detectors, so all the alien stacks will have a contact counter on, but you're also going to have false contacts out there as well. You're going to have more contact counters that you can stack. And all right, I want to put 2 or 3 contact counters under this contact counter, so the human player will think that this is actually a stack of bad guys. So it gives you a lot of variety. Kind of, I mean, I hate to use the correlation. Concealment and hidden movement from ASL. It's not really that, but it kind of is like that. That's the best correlation I can make. So yeah, one of the special rules that the bugs have, that the flesh eaters have, is that you can't see them till they're like 3 hexes away from you. Before that, it's just contacts, and there's multiple contacts out there, and not all of them are real. So that's one of the things that's the flesh eaters are all melee based. There are some ranged units. So to give them that little bit of advantage to be able to get close to take advantage of their melee, we had to make up some type of special rules so that the humans just don't sit back and blast them at 10, 20 X's away.
Okay. I see a lot of love for Stefan. Here we go, coming up.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have to really give Stefan am I coming across all the noise I hear fuzz, guys?
Yeah, we're getting feedback from somewhere.
Yep. No feedback anymore.
Nope, it's still there.
Not sure that's
Is it let me mute for a second. Is it me?
Hey guys, do you have any more?
Oh, yeah, it's Tom. Sorry, Tom.
It's my computer. My laptop fan kicked on. I guess it's loud.
You want to read and come back in?
No, it's just it's overheated. I'll go more vent or something.
Okay. Okay, and let me go down to these questions. Tom, you might want to just speak to Mike because you're getting a whole bunch of feedback. Okay. That was changed, right, Stefan?
Yes.
Okay, so what's
No longer there.
Okay, that's no longer there, Kurt. So that complaint we have eliminated. What was the change that we decided to do, gentlemen?
Oh, you can enter fire to hex now. You just can't stay there for too long because I think it's from memory. I think you're gonna make a damage check +4 at the end of the turn. So you can enter. Say that you grab the control of the X and then get out.
Okay.
Or
Now,
you can stay there and become barbecue.
Now, the original plan, and I made this as a conscious choice that, yeah, you're right. Once a hex is on fire, even if it's a victory hex, you can't move into it. My reason on that was I kind of stole it from World of War 85, and I've lost a lot of scenarios in World of War 85 because I couldn't capture village hexes that were on fire. I figured, let's go ahead and port it over to tactical. Was not a good design choice on my part. So yeah, we've changed that thanks to Stefan. He really petitioned hard, and it's like, yeah, as David and I are often want to do. Yeah, Stefan's right.
Yeah, he did more than not. That's for sure. Okay, and then we have some question here. Okay, so we're going to kind of move away. Let me just, if we find any more questions, I'm not answering you guys. You're just way ahead of me. I'm going to talk a little bit more. Well, I'm going to just show you the screenshot in the library, guys. This is the World at War online library. The banner was going on before, and these are what's in there as of right now. There's the different module rules. The only thing the module rules online don't have, obviously, the scenarios and tables. You can only get those with the companion books. Okay, but you can search through these things. You can find, if you want to do fire, you type the word fire in the search online, and it'll show you all the instances. Sure comes up. You can click on it. If you have an iPad or something like that, you'll find it extremely helpful when you're playing the game. Speeds up any rule questions and stuff like that. So that's on the library. The thing I want to talk about, I guess, is Devin's the next game coming out is going to be a two-parter. It's going to be Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. Yes, the game was called Heroes Drive on Stalingrad.
Heroes Road to Stalingrad.
Heroes Road to Stalingrad. It was something everyone, we had some, how should we say, people who were upset because we were glorifying something that we weren't. And we just felt it was easier just to modify it. It wasn't in Stalingrad. It was the road to Stalingrad, drive to Stalingrad, but that caused people can't read and caused some other problems. So we just decided to eliminate it and change the name around. It was just easier. So this is going to be a two-parter. It's going to be started.
Did I fix my mic, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I
So
changed
what
mics.
we did was you're going to have that, and there's going to be a Kickstarter, and it's also going to have an add-on game, which will be called Enemy at the Gates. Enemy at the Gates is Dev and I were just having a reminiscent time talking about playing squad leader and everything else. And so we decided to make an add-on game to Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, which would be Stalingrad. It will not be the massive big Stalingrad. It will be a mini Stalingrad. How's that? But a lot of it is just, for those of us who grew up playing squad leader, who eventually went to ASL or some other system, Waterloo Tactical, it's kind of a way just to bring back, those memories. And so that's pretty much what we got here. I've got some screenshots from Tom. Thank you very much, Tom, of Bitter Harvest. And this is the computer edition of it. It's playable now. It's not released yet. We're not going to tell you when it's going to get released yet, but we're debating whether to release it before the Kickstarter for the board game, release it with the Kickstarter of the board game, or some other option like that. So you guys got some comments on that. That would be really helpful to know. Tom, Dev, anyone want to comment about this? What we're seeing, what we're going to see, what we want to see?
Well, I will circle back around. Someone was asking earlier what the reference to the title "Heroes of the Bitter Harvest" was. Not really anything to do with Ukraine. Bitter Harvest is actually Case Blue, which was the 1942 summer offensive that Germany undertook to try to. Their main drive was to capture the Balkan. Or not the Balkan, the Baku oil fields. And it eventually led them to the gates of Stalingrad, which is kind of why we originally named it Road to Stalingrad, because it was the campaign that led to Stalingrad. But we decided to change it to Bitter Harvest because it basically spelled the end of 6th Army, because Stalingrad basically was the end of 6th Army. So as the Germans were advancing through the steppes of southern Russia, it would accumulate into a bitter harvest for the Germans because they reaped what they sowed, basically. So that's basically where the title Bitter Harvest came from. And I know someone was asking about that earlier. But yeah, so this is 1942. I kind of like the earlier war stuff. That's where my preference is at. I know a lot of people like the late war where they're driving around the big cats and the Pershings and the ISU Joseph Stalin 2s and 3s and SU-152. I kind of like the earlier war stuff where, all right, I got a Stug, but it's a Stug D with a 75 millimeter short barrel on it. So I kind of like the earlier stuff. So that's kind of where my desire to make this earlier in the war module came from. But yeah, as you can see on the scenario, we got guard units. We got several scenarios with guard units. We've got new Soviet infantry, the NKVD. They are really garbage on the firepower. They actually got a firepower 0, although they do fight a little bit better than partisans, which are also firepower 0. Yeah, I know which scenario this is. We've got some scenarios that are just really focusing on the armor. That's one of the things we didn't have a lot earlier in lock and load tactical games, where scenarios that just focused a lot on armor. I mean, I got some scenarios that got upwards of 20 armored vehicles for both sides in it. So I like armor battles. So a lot of the maps you're going to be seeing are flat southern steppes of Russia, a lot of wheat fields, a few outlying villages to work those wheat fields. There is one heavily forested map. The forests, they started running into the forest in the Caucasus Mountains, and there is one hill map, and there's a couple urban maps because there were a couple major urban centers, Rostov on the Don, and a couple others. But again, we can see, here's more guards units fighting against German Wehrmacht. Yeah, we got some fire going on. But yeah, you're going to see lots of wheat fields, not a lot of way in rough terrain, not too many hills. But it's rural Russia, and that's where we're going to be seeing a lot of the fights at. So you got kind of wide open terrain, and I like to think they're, the guy came up with some pretty good situations for people to fight in with.
All right, here's another one.
Yep, we do have a bunch of new units. As you can see on the right-hand side there, you've got some horse-drawn wagons, the Tachanka machine gun wagons, which were basically Maxim machine guns, 2, 3, 4 of them, stuck on a horse-drawn wagon because, that's what the Soviets did. So we've got those. We see the Ilyich Sturmovik makes an appearance in this game. We haven't had any games of Soviet air power before, so they show up in this one. We've got a new type of leader, the incompetent leader, which actually provides a negative to your squad's firing and morale. However, they have to remain stacked with a squad. Although Tom and I ran into some issues with that, and we kind of had to rewrite the rules a little bit for it to work in digital. But the intent is they unless they're shaken, they need to stay with them. So yeah, they kind of harm you more than help you, but they're still a leader and they can still rally. It's just a little bit of a penalty. So it's like kind of hope. I hope he dies early.
You can also cancel them out by putting another leader or a hero in the hex. To sort of have a better opinion of things, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
Okay, last picture here.
Yes. Like I said, we do have fighting inside cities. There was Rostov on the Don, and there's a whole. As everybody knows, I'm infamous for mispronouncing foreign names, so half the time I don't even try, except for the ones I know I can pronounce. But yeah, we've got city fighting. We got a lot of rural and urban fighting. It's early war, which is, like I said, that's my groove thing. And that looks like that's a loose artillery barrage, one of the new optional artillery barrage rules that we put in with 5.1. Doesn't do a lot of damage and really kind of pointless in a built-up area, but
I was making a cool screenshot is what I was doing.
It's a massively cool screenshot. But the cool thing is, you got to remember, fire for effect hex, if you move through it, you still got to roll against the firepower, and it's degrading terrain. So if you need kind of a quick, dirty smoke barrage to cover your advance, loose fire barrage is a great way to throw that out. Just throw that loose fire barrage out. You've got like 21 hexes that are covered, give you a chance to advance or a chance to fall back. I mean, that was really what the intent of the loose fire barrage was. It's not intended to do a lot. I think even with a 6 firepower artillery barrage, if you do a loose fire barrage, every hex is going to get hit with 2 firepower. Again, not that great in a built-up area unless you need, something to cover your troops' advance, which was what it was intended to do.
That is actually Blackwell's girlfriend, I believe.
Yep.
Yes.
Explain things.
all I can say is that's the photo that was sent to us, and we just sent it on to Ivan. So Blackwell sent it to us. It's all on him.
Okay.
So.
Any news on heroes and jump boots? Okay,
Eventually.
guys.
Eventually. I mean, like I said, with production, making up the scenario rules, making up scenarios, creating the maps can be done relatively quickly. Mark is a genius when it comes to doing maps. I mean, I could present, 8, 10 maps to him, and he could probably have them done in a couple months. Rules doesn't take that long to write up. Scenarios, I can knock out probably, I can write up 4, 5, 6 scenarios a week, and then play testing after that. Artwork. Counters is what's delaying us. That really is
delays us from the graphics onto the production onto the.
I mean, yeah, honestly, right now, I mean, Ivan did a wonderful job for us, and we love the work that he did for us. However, he did get the opportunity to pick up a regular paid gig that doesn't allow him to do third-party stuff, and we wish Ivan the best. We love that Ivan got a regular job, and so he didn't have to worry about sporadic art jobs from here and there. The problem is we just don't have an artist right now, and so we
don't have the guy.
Well, yeah,
but the ones to make the counters is put it this way: you got dessert chefs, you got cooks. You've got people who make phenomenal appetizers, and the counter guy is a different type of guy. We are having a new guy. We're not going to say anything else about him right now.
Yeah.
But we haven't got to the point of getting everyone up to speed yet. Here's a question for you. I would say, Chris, they're not space zombies. They're probably more closer to the alien type of creatures, if I am not mistaken, Devin.
Like they're kind of like a cross between the Zerg and Xenomorphs. So Zerg from Warhammer 40K and the Xenomorphs from the Aliens movie franchise. They basically will consume biomass and use it to create more of their kind and just explode rapidly all over a planet in kind of a bug frenzy format. Kind of like space locusts. That would be a good way to put it. So,
right. There are some other novels in the pipeline. Brad Smith was the guy writing the main article, the main stories. That was a story that I had written. Was really more of an outline with some little details here. Brad really made that book more than I did. But yes, there are some. We have a gentleman in England. I just haven't got around to finalizing that with him yet, but I'm looking forward to having him do that. And yes, I've been asked that quite a bit of times, guys.
Oh, and Scott did join us. Scott did make it in. He popped in.
Oh, really? I didn't see him.
Yep.
Oh, that was quick. All right. Hope you're feeling better, Scott. Oh, here it is. I see. Okay, there he is.
I will also point out, not only has Scott done a wonderful job with creating scenarios through the digital editor, and they are available on the workshop. Again, if you make up scenarios in that editor, you can upload it for the workshop for other people to download. But Scott is also working on a couple of full-blown expansions that will go to print, kind of like what we've done with Red Gauntlet, Valor 13, and stuff like that. He's currently working on a combination module that is going to cover Heroes in Defiance, and you're also going to need Heroes of the Pacific, because we're also looking at British and Dutch East Indies action. So it's going to be a scenario pack. I think we've got 12 scenarios for that one. That's going to cover early war France, 1940. And it's also going to cover early war Japan versus the British and the Dutch in the East Indies. And he's also going to eventually be working on a North Africa expansion for us.
Yes, that was something. And we don't forget we have Gina's North Africa.
Yes, and we do have another full box. Like I said, we got a lot of projects. The biggest thing that's delaying us right now is just the artwork. Gina, I want to call her Gina Davis. That's not her last name. Gina has done wonderful work with GMT in the past, and she's come up with a wonderful idea for another North Africa expansion that's going to be focusing more on the long-range desert group. So we're going to be working, hopefully, very soon. Well, I can't say very soon. Eventually, there will be another North Africa full box set coming out. That will be focusing.
A campaign game, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't think we were going to talk about that quite yet. All right. So yeah, basically that one. That one is also going to have a Raider campaign in it. Do you want me to go into all the details?
Yes,
Or just
go
leave
right
it?
in.
All right. So
This is
Vea Victus magazine came out with a solitaire game a few years back that was basically covering desert LRDG, long range desert reconnaissance group operations in North Africa. So Gina saw this game and decided, hey, I can make this to work with Lock and Load Tactical, because since you're usually small groups of raiders, and basically they would strike hard, strike fast, and get out, basically right at the Lock and Load Tactical level. So basically, she presented us with this idea, and she's written up all the rules. They've gone there. We have the first draft, we have the counter counts, everything. She's done the maps and everything. Again, we're just waiting to get to the artist to continue with the project. That we are going to have a campaign game included with it where you're moving around with these raider units on an operational map, and then whenever the units run into each other on the tabletop, well, you break out Lock and Load Tactical and play it right on the Lock and Load Tactical map to see what the effect of the scenario is. This one's going to run a little bit differently because the long range desert groups usually 2 or 3 jeeps with 2 or 3 guys in it. So the British the British LDGR aren't really going to be operating in full squads. They're going to be more operating as hero units. So you're going to have 5 or 6 British heroes against a company of German infantry. So that's kind of a new, unique take that we really haven't done much with that before. Plus the LRDG Jeeps were just kitted out with machine guns to hell and back. So yeah, that's going to be kind of exciting. Plus we're also going to be focusing more on American forces in North Africa. Probably going to be 12, 14, 16 scenarios in that box set. Half the scenarios are going to focus on the LRDG. The other half are going to focus on American forces in Tunisia, Kasserine Pass. So there wasn't that much focus on American forces in the first North Africa game, and I kind of wanted to give them some love in North Africa still. So the next one is going to be a combination long-range desert reconnaissance and American forces.
all right. Guys, I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to On the Air with Lock and Load Publishing, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's funny. Someone wrote a couple of months ago, I guess it's been now. Oh, why do you have that up there? And a couple of weeks later, I got an email from someone thanking me for posting that. They were having a bad time with depression and stuff. And I actually, 3 or 4 years ago today, we lost my brother-in-law to this. And so it's something that I think hits home, and people tend to forget sometimes. So we try to, give a chance if someone needs some help. There's some numbers there for you. They also come across on the banner. As soon as I find it, I'll put it up there. And just to try to, if you're having a tough time and it's holiday season, they say that tends to bring that up. We just wanted to let you know we do give a crap, and this is our best way of helping you guys, since we don't know who you are necessarily. So
yeah, and unless you're going through it, you don't think of it unless you're involved with it. So,
all right. Now we have some people are asking me, would you like to see North Africa? Okay, this is more for Devin.
Ran off.
I know. Look at that. You want to see North Africa expansion include Airborne and Stone Creek. It's funny, we did talk about that. That would require some possible airborne roles and stuff like that. We actually were talking with Devin about making an airborne pack, which kind of jumps you around to different sides. But again, these are the things we talk about before we have the alcohol, and we don't quite finish by the time they've done the alcohol. So that slows us down a little bit with some of this stuff.
Crete would be rolled into probably Heroes of the Jump Boots, which would be the expansion that would look on other airborne operations, British Airborne, Soviet Airborne, German Airborne. Because we've already got the U.S. Airborne. We've seen that in Heroes of Normandy. Plus, it also gave me a chance to do some Market Garden stuff. But yeah, the Crete would definitely be rolled into Heroes of the Jump Boot. And again, that's just the working title for now. It may change because I suck at naming conventions, and I need David to save me on that quite often. So.
The blind leading the blind.
That's right.
All right. Here is the cover that's for the add-on to Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. Okay, and basically that will be done during the Kickstarter. Tom is getting the scenarios as we speak from Devin. I wanted to show you guys the map. That is our version of the Stalingrad maps, I guess, right?
Well, basically, if you take a look at this, actually, it's supposed to be reversed. 90 is supposed to be on the right, 91 is supposed to be on the left. But if anybody who's ever played Squad Leader may notice a direct correlation between this and Board 1. That's kind of on purpose.
That's the point.
That's the point. It's the Enemy at the Gates is our expansion for Bitter Harvest, but is also our love note to Squad Leader and all the enjoyable hours we used to have playing Squad Leader scenarios. And so we've got that map, plus there's I think it's map board 3 we also are doing up as well. So all 4 of those maps, since Squad Leader boards are much bigger than Lock and Load tactical boards, are going to be included with Enemy at the Gates. And the fighting is going to be focusing mostly on the fighting for inside Stalingrad. Now, do you want me to reveal kind of the big thing about Enemy at the Gates with the scenario? Well, we've already showed off the board. Scenarios 1, 2, and 3 from Squad Leader we have redone to do in Lock and Load Tactical. Now, it's not 100% conversion because just the way that both tactical systems work, I kind of had, and plus we don't have enough counter count to do all the 27 Soviet squads.
Not a complete match either. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So, but we have redone scenarios 1, 2, and 3. And that took a little bit of work to make it. Like I said, it's our homage. We're not trying to infringe on copyright or anything like that. It's just if we were to have done it, this is how we would have done this scenario. And we really enjoyed, like I said, the original first 3 scenarios from Stalingrad, Guards Counterattack, Tractor Works, and Streets of Stalingrad. They just left such an innumerable. That's not the word I was looking for. Yes, my tongue is starting to fail me. Such a positive, imprinted so positively on our gaming memories from earlier days. We wanted to pay homage and tribute to it. So there's going to be new scenarios in there. There's going to be some scenarios from Squad Leader in there. But yeah, it's going to be mostly focusing on the fight in Stalingrad. Now, this is not my Magnus Opus Stalingrad module that's going to be worked on eventually. This is me laying the groundwork. We're going to be seeing a lot of rules in here that we're testing them out now to make sure they work and get the rules down tight. So when I do the big Stalingrad module, those special rules will be good and tight, and we can just slide them in with no problem.
Here's a better look at that map. Mark did an excellent job. I did the modifications to the map. The circles around the little circles around the dots, those I believe are the sewer hexes. I'm not positive
those are the sewer entrances. Yep.
Okay, and we also have, if I can find it here, so you can get a little bit of idea of the map. Mark did a really nice job. I really like the way he made this map up. And then there's the other map here. And I'm looking for just one more graphic. We have the sewer rules. We don't have you fighting in the sewers and stuff like that. Just to be clear. And we did come up with what was the thing with the snipers that you and I designed?
Repositioning snipers. Basically, as the rules stand now, snipers, once they're in position, they don't move at all. And usually the easiest way to eliminate them is to run in and knock them out in melee because they're non-melee eligible. But snipers usually worked in teams, especially in Stalingrad, and would reposition themselves all the time. So we've come up with a new rule where snipers can reposition or start repositioning while another team takes over. So basically, you're going to be able to take a sniper and as its activation, remove it from the map, place it on the turn track 1 or 2 turns down the line. We're still testing that out. And then be able to replace it anywhere on the map. Now, again, most people think, well, if it's only 1 turn, most people can only move 4 to 6 hexes. And if you're trying to be stealthy and sneaky about it, you're probably going to move 2 hexes. Well, like I said, it's more an idea that there are different sniper teams taking over. The biggest thing is that if you do that, normally snipers attack with 2d6. You reposition the snipers, they're out of their normally established position that they've set up, and they've got the ranges on everything set up. They've got the line of sight. Now they're only rolling at 1d6. So you can leave them in the hex the entire game for 2d6 attack dice, which is really good with snipers. But if you reposition them, they lose some of their lethality, and then they drop to a 1d6. So it's kind of a tactical decision you need to make.
And it kind of gives you a better feel for Stalingrad as well. We also made up this
severe rubble. Yeah, rubble that is so a building that is so bombed out, so blasted, maybe a multi-story building that no matter what you do, it's going to take you longer to try to move through it than the length of the scenario. So a severe rubble hex is a hex that has been blasted so bad that it's just impractical to try to move through during the course of a scenario. So nobody can enter it. Snipers can't set up in it. Nothing. It's just a new terrain type we want to toy around with. We want to fiddle with. I mean, because you've seen pictures of Stalingrad. You've seen newsreels of Stalingrad. It got blowed the hell up. So normal rubble just doesn't cut it sometimes.
Hey, Kurt, we didn't make a Russian Gun Berserk rule because that's really more of an ASL thing. You do have, I guess, we're going to plan to have certain scenario rules that will allow the Russians, maybe even the Germans, to defend themselves, we'll say to the last man, for lack of a better term, where they will be just devils to get out of. So it won't be necessarily a Berserk rule as much as it will be a fanatical rule, stuff like that. We toyed with the idea with some of the scenarios. Most of the scenarios are done. There's a lot that we're kind of toying with. That we're having the NKVD stand behind certain troops. The Soviets can't retreat. I forget what we.
Right. Yeah, we've played with a whole bunch of stuff. We were thinking about maybe also the Russian human wave attacks. That really, they really did
on the tactical. That was the thing you and I.
Yeah. I mean, it could kind of mimic the Soviet bonsai charges, but tactically, the Soviets stopped doing that, at the end of Barbarossa, late 40, early 41. They just really didn't do the human wave tactics anymore. Now, granted, there were, if you've seen the movie Enemy of the Gates, it's like, yes, we have the maximum machine gun out there. You're going to charge them. I mean, that happened, but that was kind of an organized set at the beginning of the scenario type. Not all of a sudden, we're just going to have all, we're going to have all the units rush across the field. That really wasn't a command consideration by the middle of 1941. So as far as I know, unless I decide to make a special scenario rule for it, which now that I'm thinking about it, that might not be bad to put in an enemy at the gates, because I got like a couple scenarios. I may put an enemy at the gate from the movie Enemy at the Gates.
I'm doing this. This is a no from Tom. Don't forget.
I just made a face. I just made a little face.
Yeah, guys, don't. I can't say it live, but don't do that. No,
and Kurt's talking about the grain harvest building. I've already got Pavlov's house. Probably will do the grain harvest because that's the Germans defending. That'll give me a chance to get some Soviets out there with lots of Molotovs and flamethrowers and satchel charges. I don't have very many scenarios with the Soviets on attack in Stalingrad. So the grain harvest will probably be making an appearance in Enemy at the Gates as well. It just depends on how the rest of the scenarios suss out. The Enemy at the Gates will have 8 to 10 scenarios in it, maybe 12. So I can never say because it all goes through. All right, what do I want to do now? I got to work this in. I didn't do a scenario like this. I got to have these units. I
get them as, hey, we really need to add this in there. Okay, Dave, you get a hang up for
I have implemented just about everything you.
No, you have. The reason we did, just so you know, I think it's Kurt was asking, or no, IT Viking, you were asking setting the snipers in the severe rubble. We were going to do that, and actually we had talked about doing it. The problem is one of the plus and minus of snipers is you just into the hex and they're dead, if you're a squad. So The severe rebel was so we can make random setups sometimes where 1 or 2 hexes that were last time you played the scenario a severe rebel may not be again. Okay, so the problem is you put a sniper in there and you say it's severe rubble and squads can't enter that, you can't kill the sniper. Okay, so that was the reason we didn't do that, because you're kind of making a permanent defensive position for a sniper. So that's why we said nothing can go in there. And we wanted to be able to move around, so you have to go around it. It's not so much you can't go through it, but in the time into the scenario, it would be easier to go around it. And that was the whole reason. And from what we were reading, there was a lot of that where you just couldn't do that, You just couldn't get into this area because of the devastation there. So hope that explains a little bit better. There you go. Okay, gentlemen. For Tom, I'm getting asked questions about the scenario editor. Now I don't have. I know I sent you late asking for screenshots. I didn't get any. And I don't have any to show. And for some reason, the browser will not let me view the screen like I did last show. I don't know why. It says I need to update something. So, Tom, what is the plan as you see them now for the editor? As far as the scenario editor goes, I know that's pretty much set up and working great. I do know we want to implement the ability to to let you print out possibly scenarios, so someone can make a scenario on the computer and save it for the board game. Is that still going to be in the plans as we discussed?
Yeah, I have to look into PDF printing so it looks nice instead of just. I mean, I can dump out a text file now, but it's not very, elegant.
Yeah, guys, the good news is we're not seeing any of this from Tom, so it's still on the table then.
Yeah. I mean, it's what my list is like. It's
I know it's not a list. It's a life achievement goal.
Well, I have the like my Google. I just have one document that just is nothing but dates and lists of things that have been done, and then under that the things to do, and it's like 185 pages or something. So it was before I upgraded computers. It took like 5 minutes to load, which is pretty sad. But yeah, and then the map editor is going to get squeezed in at some point here because we're finishing up Bitter Harvests, and I don't know what was next. I mean, maybe Day of Heroes is next, but maybe the map editor, depending on the art situation.
Yeah, if I would say the editor would be good, because even if we just started with the goal right now, guys, is to get Tom. We did have a picture up somewhere. I don't know where we put it, to be quite honest with you. You still have that picture, Tom, that you sent me?
Oh no, I'm on a laptop. I don't have a camera on my name.
There was a picture I got from Tom. I don't think I have it on him. Let me just see if I do. No, I don't think I have it saved on here.
It was just like a building and a tree or something.
Yeah,
right?
It wasn't anything. But what was nice about it, guys, and was really encouraging was it didn't look like you could junk it into like a Legos.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I mean, because the maps look so nice already. Especially if you just let anybody make a scenario and then they make this horribly mismatched patchwork thing, it's not going to look very good. So, but I've been, me and Mark von Marshall's the one who does the vast majority of the map art, if not all of it. And so we've been going back and forth on trying to make it look right. And right now he's putting together how he's going to get the roads and hex side stuff to work. The hex sides will be pretty simple. The roads is going to be a little more complicated because it should be. I mean, when he does it, he basically has to draw it. And so he needs to make a bunch of different combinations of roads. And then I need to figure out how to make it sort of automatically happen, because we don't want to make somebody pick one of 24 different road pieces for each hex and stuff like that, because they'll go crazy. So, it's going in steps as I get pieces from him. His buildings and trees were working good. So that's the first thing. And the hex overlay also, there's some technical stuff with that, and that, I need to have it clip off at the edge of the map. So I need to figure out how to do the masking in Unity, which is some 3D stuff and, art stuff. Mainly, when am I going to work on that is the main thing. I guess possibly next.
Yeah, I think that is, I think that will be our next goal. We got the very, and I'm going to say very early test in, and it worked good for now. New artwork.
And I got to redo the way the saves right now are all in one file, which is easy and convenient. But when we're going to have people make maps, then there's going to be multiple files. So I have to adjust how that works, stuff like that.
Would that break the old save games?
Everything. I mean, none of the old save games are using the new maps. So no.
Okay.
That's the good thing about using C# in this is it's super flexible with me adding new stuff without breaking old stuff, which is a nice change from standard C.
And what's the goal? The goal that I have for Tom, now it doesn't mean it's going to happen because Tom is the driver of this. I just say, I want to go over here. Tom says nay or yay.
Yeah.
But it's to be able to have regular guys who are not graphic designers, such as myself, Devin, Stefan, all of us here, to go and make whatever maps we want to, and then save it, and then save it to a file that you can print. Maybe take it to Staples or print it on your home plotter or whatever you may have, and to really expand not only the computer game, that you can use them on computer games, but also expand the board game experience. So you can see, guys, we're not trying to leave the board game guys behind, even though we're accused of that constantly. Okay. What is the maximum size you think, Tom? And again, these are all preliminary guys. It could change tomorrow. But what do you think?
It's when I redid the line of sight. Okay, so the line of sight for the game from the beginning was a very, very slow process because it has to do the pixels to see what art it hits, and it has to do the pixels just to figure out what hex it's in, right? So that was the first slowness. If you think of it, basically think of it shooting a ray from a place to a place. And the computer has everything in a grid, but the game is in a hex. So it has to go pixel by pixel and figure out what hex it's in. And that is a very slow process. And I want to say maybe 6 months ago, this year at some point, I changed it in that I wrote a program to pre-calculate for every single hex from a hex to a hex on the map, which hexes it passes through at what point in the line, which drastically sped up the line of sight. And so now we have things like the new line of sight. It'll say which hexes you can see when you click on it. And that would not have been possible before. And it's incredibly fast, but it does mean that I put a maximum size on the map because I have to calculate this table, and it's huge. It's like a couple hundred megs. Fortunately, computers can load it pretty fast, but as the map gets bigger, that table gets exponentially bigger. So right now, the largest map size is the Red Star what is it? Days of July.
The historical maps.
Yeah. That is the current size I've rigged it up for, as big as possible. So
that's
probably a good guess. I think it's 32 by 22, something like that.
22 by 32 or 34. So it's right around that hex size.
Now theoretically, I can make a larger table, but it takes like 7 seconds to load on my previous computer, and I know there's people out there running this on like toasters. And I don't want the game to take 30 seconds to load when you start a scenario. It's gonna at some point you kind of got to say, okay, this is the limit. But maybe 32 by 32 is big enough for most things. I mean, it has been so far.
Right. Well, we haven't given them an option. I mean, it all depends what people do with it. But that's roughly where we're at.
Well, we also, I mean, it's an issue of compatibility with the previous stuff. If these map panels that are generated in the editor are actually exactly the same as their map panels, and we want to make people to be able to mix them up or whatever, then we're going to be sort of limited to map panel size. There's already sort of a compatibility mess with some of these scenarios have hexes that are different sizes than other scenarios. Like the Dark July hexes are like 93% the size of the other hexes. So I have a totally separate shrinking routine for some of this stuff. And the Bear and Jackal maps are different size.
As what we inherited in that particular.
Yeah. But the Bear and Jackal maps have like a different size, and the Days of Villainy maps are too tall to fit on a 4096 bit map, so they're split in two. And some of that is already complicated, and I'd like to not have that happen again. So. We'll see. From my point of view, it would be a lot easier if a user-generated map is always if a map maker made map is all by itself and not mixed up with anything else. If somebody wants to attach it to another map, then just have them redraw that themselves or something. I mean, that's not great, but it would certainly be simpler. But we'll see how it goes.
All right. Let me just see. Any other rules, or guys, Mike or Uwe, you got anything to let us know what's coming up next, what we're looking for?
There's not really anything on my plate right now. I finished Bitter Harvest for Devin, so that's ready to go on the tabletop. Changes notwithstanding, there could be things in there which I'm not aware of, but that's easily fixed. And tabletop is once you've got the basic game up there, it's very easy to make changes to it. So other than that, no, I'm just reacting to comments from the users on tabletop and making changes as they find stuff. There's a lot of counters in some of these, so sometimes we put the wrong back on the or the right back on the wrong counter, or the other way around. But once again,
you're kind of doing the same thing I do when I type these things into a spreadsheet for my use. Like I'll start up a scenario and be like, "Oh, this tank is missing his back. How did that happen again?"
Yeah. The thing about tabletop is, and they haven't fixed this, and I really wish they would, but there's no way to batch upload counters. So I'm doing an upload for every single counter. Both sides at once, mind you, but still, at least I only have to do unique counters. I don't have to do all of them, right? Because you can copy them on tabletop to however many you need. So there's that. But no, I'm like I said, I'm before at the beginning, David. I'm ready to go. So you guys throw anything at me within 2 or 3 days. If it's all there, I should be able to pop it on tabletop for you.
All right. I'm gonna just let you know some of the things we're planning on doing going forward. We're going to make, I'm looking for the cards right now, but we have a solo system. But moving forward, we're going to do the following. We're going to take that solo system and we're going to customize it for the game. We're going to include it with the game. It will be different from the previous solo system to some degree. To give you some ideas, it will be themed for the battle that is going on in the game. There will be new, we'll call them leader cards, but they're really more defensive or offensive stances. So basically, one of the things Devin and I hope to have done this week is to give you a scenario, I believe, for Normandy, but we'll let Devin, okay, there's Normandy, good. And the object of it is we're going to change the scenario format going forward, where we're going to show you, here's a scenario like you're familiar with everything, but we're also going to add a solitaire setup. We're going to tell you what stands or cards you need. So what I mean by that, if you're at all familiar with the current solo system, it says, hey, you're defensive or you're offensive. And then you take those cards and you mix them into the general cards, right? Okay. Well, we're going to tell you now, hey, take the offensive cards, 2-star generals, or the 1-star general. And it's not really a general, it's just what we're using talking to ourselves. But you'll find them more or less aggressive or a little bit more defensive. Like they're going to, if they're holding a town or a building, those cards will help that group of soldiers fight better defending the building compared to if you're trying to run up for a meeting engagement. Okay. The other thing we did was we're taking events. We're not making all kinds of crazy events. It's going to snow in July and stuff like that. We're just taking these different events that take place in the battle. Okay, and the scenario will tell you, randomly take this card, a card out of the pack, take 2 cards, pull this card out, and then randomly take one, and they get mixed into it. Sometimes they'll have no effect. Sometimes they will have, how else would you say it, Dev? Give me an idea here. Save me.
Well, basically, a lot of times the random events will be depending on if the so like say you pull a random event, it's a German random event. If you're the German player, it'll allow you to do one thing. If the solo system is playing the German player, it'll do something different. And we have some generic event cards for Bitter Harvest. We have 12 generic event. Well, not 12 generic. We have 12 event cards. Half of them are generic that can affect for both sides, and then we've got 2 each for German, NKVD, and Soviet guards. And so basically, if you've got a scenario with Soviet guards in it, then all right, you might have 1 or 2 of the random events from the Soviet guards, maybe one of the generic random events, and maybe one of the German random events that you're going to shuffle into the entire solo card. So in the original solo system, and Bill was asking a good question, does that make your solo system 2.0 obsolete? No, because the 2.0 system can be used with anything. This is a solo system that is going to be specific for this game only. It's going to use the similar mechanics of the solo system of 2.0. And if you want to, you can use 2.0 with Bit of Harvest. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. So no, 2.0 is not going to be obsolete. You're still going to need it to do solitaire. This is just kind of expanding on what the solitaire system is, where we've got a setup where you can randomly set up the opposing forces, the solitaire, so it's going to be different every time you play it. So it's taking as much of the choice out of your hands as possible, leaving it in the hands of the AI. So yeah, 2.0 will still be definitely viable for all previous games and even with Bit of Harvest. It's just the solo system that's going to be in Bit of Harvest is specifically focused on Bit of Harvest. Like I said, the German events are going to be kind of themed around German events that they were facing in 1942. The NKVD specific around defense of 1942, the Soviet Guard. So yeah, like David's saying, we're not going to have a weather change to snow in the middle of July. In fact, I don't even have a weather change because it barely even rained during the summer of 1942. So we've got no weather changes or anything like that. But the NKVD were definitely very heavy on defense. So their random events are going to be more defense oriented. The Guards units, their random events are going to be more offense oriented. The German cards are going to be superior firepower oriented, things like that. So yeah, do you have any of the cards that we've mocked up so far?
Get one or two up. It was giving me a little bit of a difficult time. They'll look very, like I said, Sean is working right now. We're also going to change some of the tables. Sean really wanted to do that. He felt that after having all the time with Point Blank, as well as the original Blocking or Tactical, that he felt he could do a good job in showing that off better. Hold on a second, I can get this to show anything. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to look, but I'll give you a shot there. And you'll see when you look at this, guys, again, when we made the original game, the original solo, the object was to make it as compatible with everything as possible. So we didn't have to turn around and make, this doesn't have anything on it. This is just a design layout. It's not really what you want to see, but the object of it was to let you be able to play with anything on both sides. So we had to originally set up that you get to set it up. And our logic was you get to play it over and over because you're not being forced, like a set hex. I would say most of the gamers liked it after they realized what we were trying to do, but some want to make no decisions. This is still going to make you have to make a decision or two, guys. There's no way we're taking a tactical system as involved and going from game to game and making it where you do not.
Unless we wanted to try to redo Ambush, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, then I don't want to do that. You know what? I worked in Ambush when I was at Victory Games. That was actually the first project I worked on. The problem with Ambush, even when I play tested, is once you play it, yeah, you can play it again, but you really kind of already know the story and it's done. And I did not care for that as much in the system. It's not saying it's a great game. One of my favorite designers is Eric Lee Smith by a long shot. I love this guy's games. But I'm just saying, as a general, we wanted to make it as roundabout. This was a way to put, some people didn't like using the event table. The event was on the card. You got to roll to see if the event happens. This gave the designers a lot more control. So you can say, hey, we got 12 events here. And Devin can say, hey, listen, pull out all the ones about German reinforcements. You can't select those. Now take what's remaining and randomly take two. Or I only want the one where, I'm making this up, guys, but, Soviet attack dogs, that they used to run them in the tanks or whatever the case is. You can put that in the game and it might pop up. So it gives you can more design it to a specific way. And it's something we're actually even considering for Blood and Fury going forward too, for World War 45. It lets the designer decide. You can say, hey, there's no events. Don't even look at those cards. And we like the idea of the aggressiveness, changing the leaders around. I really do have to say I do like that.
That's the plan. I mean, the biggest thing, and I don't want to tell David this, but it's my biggest headache is the actual solo setup. It takes me probably twice as long to write up a scenario for the solo setup than it does for me to write up the original base scenario itself. Because since we're giving you so many different setup options, I need to go through and I need to have the map right there. And since I need to do it for both the Germans and the Soviets, it's like, okay, what are the best ways that I can do a setup and put this into a random table that you can put these counters down in all these different hexes, and then, start flipping the counters over. All right, so this counter in this hex, I place this here. Okay, it's nothing. Nothing gets set up there. Oh, this is Force A. I got to go over right at what is Force A. Force A is 2 squads and a light machine gun. All right, so that's going to go in this X. Flip over another one of these random count. Oh, this is, Force G. Force G is what? Oh, it's a 75 millimeter anti-tank gun. That goes there. Plus, a lot of times you have forces that can't set up in buildings, so I got to set up 2 or 3 of these setup charts. It's like, all right, we can only have infantry in buildings, so all the infantry can set up in the buildings and such like that. Now I've got to make up a separate chart for the vehicles because they can't set up in buildings, so I got to come up with new setup locations for them that you can randomly. It takes a while.
And Devin will take donations of cookies and dark chocolate at any times.
All day long. All day. Although don't mail them to me right now. We're having an issue with
I will say that Devin was not happy with this idea, although he understood it, but I have to say he graciously agreed that, it's better, and damn you, David.
More work on my part, but it's going to give the solo player a lot more replayability, and a lot of people, as David said, a lot of people were trying to get to the point where they didn't have to make any decision. Well, with the solo system the way it is, there's occasionally you're going to have to make a decision, but people didn't like the fact that, well, I have to set up all the opposing forces, and that lets a meta game into the solo player. So we're trying to do everything to take as many decisions. Now, if you don't want to play with the random setup, if you want to set up the forces yourself, Solitaire, knock yourself out. You're not bound by this. But there are people out there that were asking for hands-free or thought-free setup on their own for an AI to have a setup system. So, and that's what we're trying to provide.
Well, and it was not just that, but it was also, again, giving you different. You can play the same scenario, same setup, and now get a 3-star. Again, we're going to say general. It's really 3-star, I guess, squad leader or sergeant or whatever you want to look at it, to run things this time compared to running things when you play with the 1-star ability. You also have the ability that you can randomly pick one. I mean, it just opens up a lot more playability, and that's really what we were looking for.
Oh, and one thing we kind of skipped over, we should probably circle back around to, for Mike's doing work for the Lock and Load Tactical Vassal modules. And Mike, there's some changes you want to make to those Vassal modules. You want to go a little bit over what your plans for the Lock and Load Tactical modules are?
Well, I guess but I guess we'll see how well it's received by the community at large. Just recently updated some of the World at War modules, and the way that we've been doing things in at least the World at War stuff is you have your markers and tokens that get put onto your units, whether they're disrupted, out of ammo, or whatever. And what I've done with that is change the display of the individual pieces so they have a layer on them now. So instead of moving a stack of markers, it moves one marker and all the tags go along with it. So that's a change I made for the World at War, and I'm kind of curious if that's something that the Lock and Load people would want to have on their side as well.
It's strange because you can do that on tabletop as well. They have a thing called states for the different counters,
right?
And you can actually change the state of a counter to have 6 different states, with a disruption, with a moved, with a fired. So that's an option in tabletop as well. I haven't done it because I kind of like the tabletop is supposed to be a tabletop simulator. So the actual motion of taking that counter and putting it near or on the stack is kind of part of the feel of the game, right? So it's a little bit different there.
Yeah, and Tim, that's a good point. The changes I made, I didn't get rid of the the out of ammo marker, per se. But if you wanted to play that where you've got multiple pieces stacked on top of each other, those are still in there. It's just a different way to display it. In my view, it's easier, but everyone plays a little bit differently. So I guess it goes along with that. There's a lot of lock and load modules out there.
Yeah, that is the case. I mean, we want people to play our game all the time and make it the easiest. And I think even though it's a simulator, guys, I think it's important to remember that, it's like virtual reality. It's much easier to open the door in real life than it is to do it on a virtual reality game. If you ever try doing that.
Yeah.
So I think the logic should be implied here. If you can keep the pieces together, yes, I grant that doesn't necessarily happen in a tabletop game, but I think it makes it easier for people to play. The less they have to fidget pushing counters or cycling through something, I think the easier it is for them to play, the more they're going to want to play your designs of our games, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, and Vassal is a little bit more difficult than tabletop in trying to arrange your counters in, to show that this tank has this leader and this HQ assigned to it, and then in the same stack it's something else. So there's a little more it's a little more fiddly sometimes in Vassal.
That's the first time I've heard that, Mike. It's usually the other way around that I hear. Physically fiddly, right?
Oh yeah.
Learning how to pick stuff up and roll dice and draw cards.
Shaking your hands are.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so there's a lot of lock and load modules out there, and it's not overly difficult, but there's a lot of detail to try and keep track of to make sure that I don't, so that when a marker goes down, that the front isn't, an MG42 and the back is Lieutenant Tracton.
Yeah.
So.
All right. What's this?
Have I figured it out? Obviously, you haven't seen my 95 emails to Stefan on my line of sight question.
And Stefan still finds things. Hey, this hex is not right.
Yeah. Oh well, no, he sent me one recently that was going along a hex side, like perfectly hex to hex, and it wasn't blocking. But the reason is because the hex side was not on the map. It scared me for a second there. I missed something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's theoretically working, but the shadow, I screw up the shadows a lot. I think they're right now. I can't say 100%. Maybe when whatchamacallit, hell freezes over with those 8 levels of hills come in, we'll suddenly notice something else is wrong. I think the Falklands is a good place to test that because there's all the hills and lumps, but they're just, I mean, they're weirdly complicated in some situations. It's, if you think it's wrong, report it as a bug. That's all I can say, really.
Defiance is another one that continues to give me lots of headaches. I'll be playing, and I think it's more how the maps are laid out.
Yeah, that one is levels, map 25. That one's a pain.
Map 25. Oh yes.
Yeah,
because you look at a hex and you're like, is this level 3 or is this level 2? And does it cross through here? And
or a lot of times I'll miss the shaded that the elevation actually changes. So I think I've got a line of sight, and nope, I'm in a blind hex because the hex next to me is actually one elevation up. That I don't want to disparage Mark's artwork in any way because Mark does a wonderful art job, but Defiance is kind of rough on the hill elevation.
Little lines on one of them I saw recently. Is that
We were thinking of putting light black lines for each elevation level to make it a little bit easier. We're still debating that. We're still talking about that. Okay. We did that. Which map did we do? David, do you remember what we did that as a test one, or Stefan?
Stefan will probably remember that better than me.
Nope.
You don't remember?
I think I saw a picture of it.
Yeah, it was done in Hell Frozen Over because, like you said, there were 8. Actually, there should have originally. I think there were 15 that were supposed to 15.
Yeah, I entered Hell Frozen Over on the computer like last week, and it definitely had those sweeping lines on it, which are actually kind of useful. Yeah, it's mainly. I think the main on the computer, there's several layers of issues where it could come up. It could come up that I just entered the map wrong. That's the first thing you always have to double check, that if that terrain in the map matches what it looks like, because somebody will say like, oh, my line of sight went through this forest. And then you look and it's like, oh, because it's a clear hex. That's why it went through the forest. So that is independent of the line of sight rules being correct. I mean, I think they're correct, but you got to double check the map, make sure the map's right, and then make sure the rules are right. And then hopefully it works. I mean, it's on like the 4th iteration of this stuff by now, because it keeps, it was super complicated. Then it was like, oh, the hills can be simplified like this. And, it goes through all these different.
How many false bug reports do you get? Because I remember sending some of you, and after I hit the send button, I said, oh, nope, it's not a bug. It's not a bug. I thought it was a bug, but I forgot about something here and there. And I kind of figured out, oh, poor Tom, he's going to spend some time over these and,
Yeah, they kind of come in waves. It's weird. And there doesn't seem to be a pattern to it. Like I'll get like 1 or 2 a day. And then suddenly I'll get like 15. And I'm like, I don't know why suddenly all these people are mashing the key. But yeah, no, it's I would honestly, I prefer a messed up, like somebody just said it was wrong. And then I see that the problem is then one that just says something like, tank saw man in hex. And I'm like, do you mean he shouldn't have seen him? Or do you mean he saw him? He shouldn't see, I don't know what your intentions are here,
Yeah, I would say this too. When we have on the digital system, they hit the F3 key and it sends a report to Tom.
Yeah.
And guys, I love you all, just gamers and customers, but some of you guys, your texts to what's wrong, we have no freaking clue what you were talking about. And
they're not testers.
That's after the think tank here goes through it.
Yeah, I think if you just not only say what's wrong, but say what you think it's supposed to be would be a huge help.
It's funny how we have probably more help desk tickets that we've had to throw away because we just can't figure it out than we do the ones. I mean, and you guys see how fast, if you look at Steam on our discussions forum and there for the digital, how fast we fix the bugs once we can be
once we understand what somebody's saying.
Yeah.
And we are really lucky that Tom understands those rules pretty well, because there are things that he can fix by himself because he knows the rules and he understands if that's really a bug or not. I mean, he says he keep asking me questions, but that he don't send me that many questions. A lot of them are resolved on his side.
Yeah, but on the other hand, my brain is full.
We need more memory, huh?
Yeah.
But just, guys, here's this was the original Heroes in Defiance map someone asked me about.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mark, now for those who don't know, Heroes of the Blitzkrieg became Heroes of Defiance. And then there was another module. There was this is the World War II module. There was another module called Heroes of the Gap. Okay. And that was a modern module. Okay. And it used the maps from Heroes of the Blitzkrieg, which a lot of people complain to me about. Why do I have to buy a World War II game to get the maps to play a modern game? And this was all stuff that was done eons before I bought the company, everyone. So one of the things we had asked Mark to do in the computer game was to make a World War II version of this same map and a modern version of this same map. So which caused ourselves our own short-sightedness, nailed us in the ass again. Okay, but this is the World War II version of the same map. Okay, and then it caused some other problems because one of the things Mark must have told me this years ago and I forgot. The way back before I bought the company, the hills were designed, it caused some problems for drawing. Mark brought it up at the time to the original owner. They decided to keep it the way it was, and it was not something that we wanted to redraw all the maps in the system and then tell customers, oh yes, you can go buy the new maps and everything else. So Heroes in Defiance, which was Heroes of the Blitzkrieg, the map, some of the hexes have changed. It hasn't affected any scenarios. It hasn't affected play balance, but we do know that there is some change. Tom has updated the game to match these new maps. Stefan, I thought he was going to kill me and Devin when he saw this.
Still want.
He still wants to also. But we got a lot of the changes done, I believe, fixed. Dev, am I correct with that at least?
Stefan is the keeper of all things clarifications and corrections. I believe so, but don't quote me on that, Stefan. Have we got all the buildings fixed on the Red Gauntlet or the Heroes of the Red Star?
Well, all the building that matters were fixed. I'm a little bit more still concerned about some elevation that are not that clear on the maps. For example, on the maps you're showing us right now, N6 should be a third level or second level. That's a level 2 hill. It's really hard to tell now because of the artwork that is used. But I mean, as it, even if someone use it as a level 1 hill instead of a level 2 hill, it won't change anything in scenario balance or anything like that. It's mostly for a purist like me. And I'll just play on those maps because there are a lot, they are gorgeous. I'm going to play on those maps and keep the older map on the side just to check if I'm okay on my elevation.
What you think it is, yeah.
And that same map now, here's that same map now in Heroes Against the Red Star, which was Heroes of the Gap, which did use the original Heroes of the Blitzkrieg.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It gets really confusing after a while, yeah.
And also, we had to change this map because then Tom, we never thought about it. We just said, hey, we have 226 maps. And then Tom basically said, well, I can't make them the same numbers because they're different maps now. And, you would think basically the train ran Devin and I over when that came out. It never dawned on us that would be a problem with the digital game. So we had to put an M there, which then, of course, threw all the scenario names up because we're telling you to use map 26, and now there's a 26M. So when you get the 4KX maps, if anyone who buys the 4KX maps for either one of these games, they are defined properly inside the 4KX maps cover. And we worked through all these details, but you can see a little bit of the change there and what was going on.
We also do have a note in there that for if you're using the older map sets, that the M is the modern version. So if a scenario says 26 and you're playing Heroes of the Against the Red Star, 26M is the new version. They're the exact same map, just graphically they've just been updated. So if you've got a scenario that says 26 and you got a map that says 26M, use the 26M map. And we did make we did make those notes inside the book.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything you want to bring up? Tom, everybody, Stefan, Uwe, Mike, Lev?
Oh, I could go on for a couple more hours if I really wanted to. But,
no.
I guess
my glass is empty.
I guess one thing I'd say about the Vassal stuff is that I'll get to the older stuff as I can, but by working on getting the current releases like Bitter Harvest to try and get that up and running before I start making my way back through the older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too that Shifu pointed out, guys, I'd like to hear from you on this. We have the Kickstarter pretty much lined up for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. We have the expansion game going to be available called Enemy at the Gates. Okay, you guys got some information on that. We have the Bitter Harvest game pretty much done. I won't say it's perfectly done, but it's close. And then we have Enemy at the Gates right on its heels. Do you guys feel we should, when we do the Kickstarter, we should have an option to maybe buy the key cheaper on the Kickstarter, so you could buy, the board game as well as the digital, or just buy the digital and not the board game in the Kickstarter? That's one. A two-part question there would be also, if we release the computer game earlier, do any of your board game people feel you'll be annoyed by that, okay with that? Give us some feedback on that. And be nice.
And I do know there were a bunch of questions that we didn't get to because things were kind of moving kind of fast, and we were trying to hit a lot of subjects.
Popping up, and we'll answer them now. Is there anything we missed?
For any reason, and I'll use this to pimp out the Discord channel. I'm on there all the time. If you have a question that we didn't get to, go ahead, go to the Discord channel, and just shoot me off. I'm Devin the OG. That's what I am in Discord. Send me off a private message, and I will try to answer it as best as I can. Sometimes I don't have all the right answers, and so sometimes I may not answer you right away because I don't have the answer. But in a situation like this, if you send me a direct message, I do everything I can to answer any private and direct messages I get. So if we didn't get to a question on here, head over to or go to Facebook, send me off a private message on Facebook. You know, I'm sure David doesn't need to be bothered by this, and I'm the one with the free time. So
the real problem is I don't know the answers most of the time.
I didn't want to say that. I mean, if for rules questions, ask Stefan. I mean, yeah, I may design these scenarios, but Stefan knows the rules a hell of a lot better than I do.
He's got these rules down pretty well now, I have to say. Well, the other thing too is, guys, there's a lot of stuff that we put up on our Facebook page, our Facebook group. It's Lock and Load Tactical -LnLP. I'm going to add it to the stream thing right now. Look at the comments. This is the LnLT Facebook group, and we'd love you to join it. You know, we do put things up there. We sometimes put a little scenario up there. So there's a good reason that you might want to be on there, just to get things first, or get things that we release there. There's the link. I sent it out to everybody on the who is watching or who may view it later.
Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Yep.
As far as Vassal bugs and errors and features, I'm also on the Discord. You know, I keep an eye on that. I try to keep an eye on the Facebook side. I know everyone else, you know, there's a lot of different ways to get hold of us. I don't catch the forums as often as I probably should. So if something is, you know, if you post something and you don't hear back from someone, you know, be sure to ping us, because it's easy for me to overlook if I'm not seeing it in the right spot. So, and I don't know, Devin, maybe it would be possible on the Discord to put a Vassal channel on there to
that's a good idea.
Kind of highlight stuff, and maybe.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put a digital for both you and Uwe to keep an eye on if anything comes up for Vassal or for Tabletop Simulator.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get that up later today.
There's not that many. You won't be flooded with.
You won't be flooded. You don't get a lot of, but it is a good idea. So at least there is a central point that people can go to. So.
Yeah. The other thing someone's asking, where do you download the free scenarios for digital? I was going to show you, but I can't get the Chrome to work with the StreamYard. But basically, if you go on to Steam, find, you know, Lock and Load Tactical Digital, go to the hub, the community hub, and under there you're going to see Workshop. When you click on Workshop, you should see a lot of scenarios now, and the majority, I believe, is by Scott Anderson, but there's quite a few.
Scott has probably done more than everybody else put together. He's been a demon on there.
Okay. And what you should do is you have to go to Browse, everyone, just so you know. Once you're on the click the Workshop, it'll show you maybe one or two. It really only shows you, Tom and I have not ever been able to figure out why it does this, but it only shows you who your favorites are. You can't just see all the new ones. So you have to go into Browse once you're in the Workshop, and then go to Items, and then it shows you all of them. And you can basically make these authors your favorites, and as they do new things, you'll find them. Right now, it looks like there's over 50 or 60 entries. Okay, so these are totally new scenarios done by multiple people. There's Phenomenon, Nam, Battle to the Rhines, Heroes of the Pacific. What else is here? I see Days of Villainy, Motherland, Heroes Against the Red Star. I don't know if I said it already, but there's multiple pages, and you just basically can download them, and they go right into the module. Now, I believe you need the module. So if you see Heroes of the and you don't own that, and you try to download that, it's probably not going to work, guys.
And how you download it, for those of you not familiar with downloading mods from the workshop, just click on the subscribe button. You see a scenario you want, just click on the subscribe button and it'll automatically put it in the queue. It'll download it straight to Steam. You don't have to do anything from that. The next time you start up the game, it'll be right in there. You go under custom scenarios, bam, you'll be. So if you download a custom scenario for Heroes of the Nam, you go into Heroes of the Nam, you go into the custom tab, push on that, bam, it's right there. You'll be able to find it.
Now you can filter by battle packs that you own, by dates. It's very powerful.
It's pretty good search features that you can work with.
Someone's asking about the role playing game. I don't think there's a role playing game. It's the we made you can make your own counter, and put your name on it, and then you get inserted into the battle. And the more things you accomplish as you, or don't accomplish as you, or fail out, raises or lowers your statistics on your counter. So
and you have the chance to acquire skills.
I just realized right now, as you say this, that you can drop your leadership to -1 on that, and you can see yourself as an incompetent leader. That's the flag it uses.
Nice.
I love it.
So you can actually generate a battle, by the way, pick a leader for yourself, play the battle, and as you play different levels, how does it work, Tom? Multiple campaigns, or not campaigns, multiple scenarios in a campaign?
Yeah. You select the number. Whoever wins that number ends the campaign.
Okay.
Nine
so
or
you get 5 scenarios. You'll play 5 scenarios, and you can pick either scenario.
You can play up to 9 that way. If you keep alternating winning.
Right. What we're working on, although we haven't got there yet, and it's not going to be super pretty because we have to kind of manipulate things, but we want you to take a picture. You can take a picture of you, insert it onto, let's say, American leader, German leader, Russian leader, and you put your name in there, and it will save it so you can eventually upload it into the digital system and actually have your own counter with your face on it. So we're not there yet. Is that correct?
That's on your end.
Yeah. No. Are we able to upload the leader images yet? If I give you one,
if you give me one, I can figure it out. Yeah.
Okay. So we have now, and
it depends what your program is going to be putting. If it just puts it out as like a PNG or something, yeah.
You want a PNG, JPEG? What do you want?
PNG, because it's got to have the transparency around the counter.
Right. Okay. I will talk to the minds that be for that. Okay.
I'm too ugly to be on the counters as some guy.
All you got to do is go find a picture that you like. You can tell me when that's you. No one can know any better. Well, listen, you just saw the pictures of us on the counter. I don't think we showed them Tom yet, but I will find that.
I look like a real hick for some reason.
I think I stole that off your Facebook page. But
yeah, I know. I was trying to figure out what picture you used for that.
I think it was either a graduation or a party.
It was like Thanksgiving or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this just saved me bothering Tom.
Yeah.
I think I got Tom's picture right here, guys. Hold on. Come on, Tom. You don't want to miss out on it, do you? It looks like a hard day of programming too. There you go.
I don't know, man.
And we said, I have Stefan's here. I think I have Stefan's here too. Hold on, let's see if I can find. And I may not have the right one.
He's a UK one, right?
I think he's Canadian. UK.
Yeah, it's a Canadian tank commander with glasses.
With modern day glasses.
Yeah, with modern day glasses.
Have the glasses taken off eventually somewhere. There's Stefan.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my infantry leader version.
Yeah,
with a fancy hat.
Yeah, well, it's a beret. I think that's what you call it in English, beret.
Yep.
Right.
That the Canadian had when they were a tank commander.
It could use some shrinking, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm still a conscript. I don't have a marker yet. So
as soon as we get our new Lardis lined up, he's going to have a whole bunch of associated.
Well, you have to prove yourself at some point, Mike.
Hey, Mike and Uwe both have proven themselves.
Well, in Lock and Load, I haven't seen anything in Lock and Load from Mike, so I'm not.
Mike's been working on the World at War stuff.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so we have someone just asked, what about can they get on a leader? Yes, and what is basically happens is I believe it's on our LnLT publishing forums under LnLT Tactical. On the top, there's a pin-up thing saying, "Hey, upload your pictures." You tell us, give us some pictures. There's some rules. I don't know why people cannot read these rules. Some people give me pictures. They think they're 5 miles away. I get this little image of them, and they want me to take their face from that and try to make it onto a counter. So there's some rules there: how close you have to be, how you have to be cut. I don't want you, don't give me any of these. Can't make a counter out of that, guys. Okay. And you'd let me know what nationalities you want to be, and we do our best. We don't make any promises, but we do try to use our customers. It's just for fun, guys.
All the leaders that are coming out in Bitter Harvest are either employees, associates, or people who put up their photos on the most recent forums, except for I think 2 of them. I think, and I let Ivan do those at his discretion, and I think Ivan just used his friends in real life. So
yeah, that red-haired counter, I think you said was one of his friends, right?
Right. Yeah, I think one of the guards
or something.
Yeah, no, that was actually one of our customers.
Oh,
but one of the guards, you can't miss him. He's this blonde, huge, statuesque Soviet. He's one of the Soviet Guards leaders, and it's like, yeah, that's one of Ivan's friends. So yeah, I mean, we definitely love trying to fit you guys in, but you have to go to the forums. You have to put up the type of picture we want, and the rules are up there. And sometimes it's like, well, I want to be a Canadian paratrooper. We're not doing anything with Canadian paratroopers right now, so it's going to be a while before we get around it. Yeah, so it's going to be a while before we get you in. So, like I said, we do have the North Africa game that we're going to be working on here real soon that Gina has designed. I've got Pegasus Bridge. We always need Germans, so I mean, if you want to be a German, that's easy to slide in. But with Pegasus Bridge, it's going to be British glider and paratrooper forces. Heroes of Grenada, the counters for those are already done. The leaders for those are already done, so we don't need to worry about that. But yeah, we've got projects coming up, so no guarantee we'll get to it right away. But if you give us, and if you just say, I don't care what kind of leader I am, that's easy. I can stick you in anywhere. So
yeah, be careful when you do that. Don't give us that much leave room, guys. All right. Well, unless you guys got anything else, any questions, or any of you guys want to drop in and add anything to it? Tom, how about you? Mike?
We're good.
Stefan?
I'm good.
Hey, I do have one question. We are getting together clarifications and corrections document, separate release for LnLT Tactical soon, right?
Soon?
Well, no, I'm asking.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It takes a lot of time, but it's coming.
What did you say you had, like 90 pages or 90 items you were still going through for clarification?
Oh no, for the core rules. Oh, the core rules were pretty much done. I've sent you 3 pages.
Right.
They are mostly, I don't want to scare anybody out there. They're really clarification, a little correction. There's no new rules, no new, say like the rule we introduced with 5.1 with the fire rule or the alternative fire mission. So they're really adjustments. For example, I think in the core rules it says that on a rooftop you were on a level 3 while you should be actually on a level 2. Stuff like this, and some correction in English grammar. But beside that, there's not. It won't even be a 5.2. It's really a 5.1 corrected.
We're not going to change any numbers, like I said. If anything, it's just mistakes or things that we screwed up on. +2 is a +1 and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's not that many. There's not that many. There are little correction, or as I said, the overrun. I'm suggesting that you could overrun if you go down the road, but not across the trees. So at least this way, a single man cannot block a road cannot block vehicle from entering a town using a road with tree line on each side. So there are really things like that. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Anything else?
Nope.
Well, hey, everyone who's joined us, no one's going to watch the video. We thank you. We are going to, I guess, sign off now. We're going to do our traditional wave and ending credits, everybody.
Or do we want to announce the holiday show at the end of the month?
You're going to make me do that, damn it. No.
I know.
All right. On the 18th, no, it's 18th. No, it's not the 18th. Today's the 18th.
No,
The Wednesday after Christmas. I don't know what the date is. What is that?
29th.
The 29th. We're just going to have a fire, a roundtable fire chat. We're going to have Maurice Fitzgerald from, what's his site? I'm going to get mad at me for forgetting that now.
Mo's Game Table.
Mo's Game Table. Kevin Sharp's going to be there. We invited Nate. Brent Guillory from Dragoons is going to be there. We have some other people too coming. And it's ask some questions, whatever we want to talk about. Bring your booze. Okay. And that's going to be in the evening, I believe, at 6 o'clock. We're going to post it up like we did this one. But just so you know, it's coming, guys.
Yep.
Cool.
Great.
Okay, we see there's any other questions. I get a thanks here. There you go. And look at that. Oh, positive stuff, gentlemen.
Wow.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Let's see how many F3 keys you get tonight. All right, gentlemen. So long. I'll talk to you guys later.
Well, that is all you have for this episode. Keep gaming, and may God bless you and keep you until next time. On the air is a Lock and Load Publishing production.